Welcome to another episode of Couples Night, episode 6.
We don't know. Don't even try.
I lose track every time.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Today we decided to do something a little bit different than usual. I feel like our past episodes were very topic kind of, we'll pick one or two, or we'll pick a big bunch of games and we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about if we like it or if we not, dates, all that other stuff. But last year something really fun came out, and me and you were obsessed with it, and we stayed up till 6 a.m. watching me finish playing it, and then I got really into it and I started doing a whole bunch of other stuff for it, and I really got into Final Fantasy VII this past year.
Yeah, we ended up playing the remake on March when the original part of the quarantine happened in New York. I played it for a week straight, beat it, and enjoyed my time with it. It was a great experience, just, like everything else. There are issues with it, but it's not like it hindered the main good things about it.
Yeah. We were kind of talking about this, and we were like, oh, well, if we do a Final Fantasy VII episode, it's very interesting because how old is that game now? 20 years old, I would say, right? Or almost.
I don't know the exact year. I think it came out in 1997.
Okay, so
at this point, it's probably 23 years old.
And so it's very interesting the fact that at a certain point in Final Fantasy VII, it was okay to talk about spoilers for it because it was so old, the game. Now we're back at a time where we can talk about spoilers for Final Fantasy VII, because now you're going to spoil something for a huge audience. So when we were talking about making this episode, where we well, are we going to do a spoiler-free episode? Are we not? We came to the conclusion we kind of can't do a spoiler-free episode about Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, you just can't.
So we will give people who watch this a heads up when we will do a spoiler. I'll probably if we don't say it, I will definitely put it on the screen somewhere that we're going to get into spoiler territory, because I have a feeling we're going to forget. So
well, yeah, to a certain degree.
But yeah, I just I got really into Remake. I have played everything Final Fantasy VII, or watched everything Final Fantasy VII related, and never played Final Fantasy VII.
No.
Prior to Remake.
She couldn't get past the blocks, right?
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't look at that game and be oh, I'm going to sit here for 30, 40 hours and enjoy it. I just couldn't do it. But
I beat the original back in 2015.
Yeah, you went through a Final Fantasy phase
the whole
that year.
I think I played at that point up to 9 games. Yeah. I played FF7, FF6, FF8, FF9, FF10, 12, the 13 trilogy.
I was gonna say, why didn't you play 11? But
I don't even think it was accessible.
No,
outside of
cutscenes.
Maybe.
No, but yeah, I've played Crisis Core. I've knew most everything about with Dirge Cerberus, and everything with Final Fantasy VII. It was kind of more just things I've heard about it. So it was and again, Final Fantasy VII has just been out for so long that once you know about something that long, you kind of know everything about it. For me, I knew what the big spoilers were. I knew people who die, people who don't die. I know what happens at I knew pretty much what happened at the end of Final Fantasy. I seen Advent Children. I've played Crisis Core. So it was just I just never played the main thing. So when Remake came out and we were hearing about Remake, I was so excited because I was oh yes, this is what I want, a modern Final Fantasy VII that I can finally understand anything. Only to realize when we got to the very ending that it's not really a 1-for-1 of Final Fantasy VII.
I remember beating it, going, okay, well, she has to go back and play 7 before she plays this game.
Yeah.
And I tried making that clear, and,
was not so clear. So more or less, after beating Final Fantasy VII Remake, and thankfully, having all this other Final Fantasy VII lore under my belt, I decided that we should go and you would be there with me, and I would finally play OG Final Fantasy VII. We played on PS4, which I think the thing that kind of got us through most of it was the turbo mode and some of the cheat stuff for it. But that game was really fun.
Yeah, no, like when I try to talk to Kathleen about old games specifically, what keeps me ever playing them, aside from the graphical look to it, I never hate them. But when you're so used to modern stuff, I can see why it's hard for some people. But it's always the charm. Like you go back to it, the charm is what gets you to wanting to keep playing over and over. And if the game's just not fun or it's not charming, you're just not gonna play it. That's why a lot of classics exist today that people play again, like FF7. And she learned that when she played the OG.
Yeah, there was just like, it's funny because like I bring this up to you all the time. Like I always thought like even because like when you're watching things like even Advent Children or like Dirge of Service, like I assumed Final Fantasy VII was going to be like this like hardcore like dark edgy game. That is not the case at all. It's not that it's nowhere close, but like it has the funniest ridiculous moments that I have ever played in a video game. Like Cloud just randomly rides a dolphin, like, in the second part of the game. Like, he just randomly, they have to get to a certain place, and the only way you could get there is you save the dolphin, and Cloud goes on the dolphin, and you have to ride it, and, like, jump, so that way you can go to it. Like, I was like, what? I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, and then you saw that Twitter image of someone saying, I hope they recreate this.
It's like this 3D image of like Cloud on a dolphin, and I was just like, I understand this now.
Yeah, and then you were like, oh wow, that's okay, I get it.
Yeah, like 7 is just like, it has so many like funny, like charming moments that make you, even though the characters look like a bunch of Play-Doh mashed together, like they're a lot of fun, and I really liked it. And it was funny because when I beat 7 Remake, my thought process was like, I'm so excited for part 2, and like I really liked it, but it was also like, fuck, but like I never got to have my Final Fantasy 7 like remake, like to get to enjoy what everybody else had experienced when they were playing Final Fantasy 7, because from the way the ending is, we might be going in a completely different direction.
Yeah, no, that's why when I realized what happened at the end, I was like, well, you're not going to get what you really want from this game.
Yeah.
They pretty much understand that people love 7, and people will not change 7. They won't change it. They've decided we're going to challenge the idea of what a remake should be. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting how they're going about it. I just hope that they can land the mark.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to say at this point we'll probably talk about, like, spoilers, because I feel like we're, like, beating around the bush for everything else.
Well, no, we were pretty much already doing it.
Yeah, so. Just not outright saying it. But yeah, so this will probably be the point where spoilers will be coming at. But yeah, I have to say I was not expecting the ending where it's just, like, this completely different, like, you're fighting Sephiroth right at the end. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna lie, when that part came up, I was like kind of scared.
Wait, why?
Because like the fact that we were gonna fight Sephiroth, like I don't know if it's like something from when I was a kid and like when I played Kingdom Hearts, like even fighting Sephiroth to me was very terrifying. But I think it's mostly because it's like when you see Sephiroth, like Sephiroth has all this like lore and I feel like badassness about him that like. And I've never, like, personally, except for Kingdom Hearts, like, had this, like, fight with, like, this character that you've heard so much about. So, like, when it got to the point at the end of the game where I was just like, you're gonna go fight Sephiroth now. Like, now. We're doing it now. And I was like, we're doing it now? What?
Didn't you fight him in Crisis Core? I'm pretty sure there was a boss where you fought him as...
I think as, like, a data form in the first part, I think.
Sure. Okay, because I don't know. Wasn't it like in the reactor section?
I don't remember. That was so long ago.
No, yeah. Because but like I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I remember, like, because I watched a Let's Player called Nico B, mm-hmm. and he went into the platinum match in Kingdom Hearts 1, and it's like triple question mark, so you have no idea who it is, and he loves Final Fantasy 7. Like he talks about it like it's his child that it never was. Mm-hmm. So when the match started. He was like, what's going on here? Some beam comes down. All of a sudden, as the light's fading, you just see Sephiroth's wings. As soon as he saw the wings, he just started freaking out.
Yeah.
Because he was like, no, I'm not fighting him. he just had this. He's just afraid because Sephiroth feels intimidating when you know he's existed for so long.
Yeah.
And people talk about him so much,
Yeah, like, I guess I never really felt that, like the reason why even, like, characters in game, like, have this fear of Sephiroth, but, like, even, like, in OG7, when we were at the final boss fight, I was getting, like, I guess, like, some anxiety, like, going to fight him, like, this is it, like, we're here, we're fighting Sephiroth.
Well, it's different in the OG, because you've come to realize a lot of things from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
Like, one of the key differences from the remake and the original is that in the original, since Sephiroth didn't exist as a character in the world, they slowly gave you all these hints of how menacing he was. They never outright showed him.
Like the serpent thing.
Yeah, showing his display of power without showing him.
Yeah.
These little things he would do on the way, and then finally putting a face to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was such a powerful build-up. In the remake, they're like, well, he exists in the world. We can't really hide him anymore. So, screw it. We're going to show him every second we can.
But, like, I get where they're coming from, too, because everybody knows who Sephiroth is. Like, Sephiroth is probably, like, one of those, like, villains where, like, he's a very memorable villain.
He's the Darth Vader of JRPGs.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he's probably, like, up there as, like, top 5 or top
like,
10 video game villains
of
all
all time. Like, the no
time.
moment is that moment in the game.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure if you play video games, like, you know who Sephiroth is. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like, you know him. So just to, like, I think that's where also, like, the dread comes from. Like, even though, like when we were playing, like, Final Fantasy VII and I could use, like, cheats and stuff to beat Sephiroth, there was still, like, this dread of, like, oh my god, like, I don't think I can do this.
Oh boy.
Like, that's how it, like, kind of felt with him, and I don't think I've ever felt something like that before, where I was like, even though, like, it was a game and if I died and start over, it was, like, no big deal. It was just that feeling of, like, this man's gonna kill me.
Well, the thing is, as you stated before, Final Fantasy VII has a lot of, like, very funny, like, meme-y kind of things going, but it also has a lot of very serious moments. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those serious moments can be very dark, especially when you attribute them to Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Because he's done some messed up stuff.
Yeah.
People around him have done messed up stuff.
Yeah.
And your characters are dealing with the consequences of that messed up stuff.
Yeah.
And you've seen what he's capable of and what he's continuing to do. And it's causing you to go like, dear God, he is a menace.
Yeah. Like, that's the other thing, too. And, like, I think the only downside that came from playing Final Fantasy VII was we had to use a guide to play Final Fantasy VII.
Sometimes, yeah. But that's because we would take, like, moments off the game, so we wouldn't clearly remember.
But it was, like, can you imagine, like this happened to you. I remember we were talking about this when we were talking about, I think it was Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we were talking about Zack. And I was just like, yeah, like, we were talking about, like, the scene from Crisis Core where it's, like, Zack on the cliff and he's dying and he, like, gives his Buster Sword to Cloud and is, like, doing that whole, like, you're my living legacy.
Yeah, the hidden scenes.
Yeah, and I remember I was like, yeah, it must have been so cool for people to see that scene, like, redone. And you were like, what are you talking about? And you're like, that's not in Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, that is in Final Fantasy VII. That's from OG Final Fantasy VII.
I didn't know at the time.
And you were like, no, it's not. And I literally looked it up and I sent you the video and you were like, I didn't get this scene. And I was like, what? And he was like, no. And that's when you were telling me, there are skippable moments in Final Fantasy VII.
Well, I would say more of missed moments because they're optional.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say like, oh, oops, I completely skipped that.
Skip that cutscene.
Like, if you look for those quests and you get them, boom, you get these scenes as rewards.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. They're very small, but they're there.
Like the piano thing.
Yeah, with Tifa.
Yeah, like in order to get like this one cutscene, like you had to, and I think you get a materia if you do.
And
it
you
too.
get Tifa's ultimate weapon.
Yes.
Doesn't help.
You literally have to, in a flashback, go into Tifa's room, play a piano, a specific way you have to play the piano, and then in the second disc, when you go to that town, you play the song again, you get a materia, and you get Tifa's ultimate weapon.
I think the third disc is when you get the ultimate weapon.
Oh, is that when you do? So when you go back the third time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like things like that, like if we didn't look that up, like I would have been very frustrated about.
Oh yeah, and then there's a whole moment with Lucrecia and like stuff
with
like
Vincent, like how like Vincent Valentine was dating this girl named Lucrecia.
Yeah.
Only to like basically have it get cooked by fucking Hojo, nastiest looking man I've ever seen in video games.
My man paid the bills.
Yeah, well, like that's like the other thing that blew my mind still, because I'm surprised I never knew that Hojo is Sephiroth's father.
Yeah, biologically.
Yeah, like that's something I'm surprised I like never found out. So when we were playing Final Fantasy VII, I was like, Hojo is fucking Sephiroth's dad. I was like, that man's nasty.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Hojo has long hair. Sephiroth has his hair.
Yeah, I don't think long hair is a
No. What I'm saying
is Lucrecia, if you think about it.
True, but the thing is, his altered look came a lot from the Genova cells.
Yeah,
he put those in him.
Yeah. And then, like, you feel like, but, like, that's the thing, too, like, and then you find, like, if you have Vincent in your party, you can find Lucrecia, like, you find out she's, like, been hiding this whole time, and you found out, like, she never even got to hold Sephiroth when she, like, gave birth to him, like, Hojo took him away, so, like, she never got to, like, have to or see her son, and then I think she realized that even though she was doing this for science, she realized she made a very big mistake because she made Sephiroth.
Because her biggest mistake came from like never being able to see her child.
Yeah, and then what that child became.
I don't even think she knows what he's doing.
I think so. I feel like she said that she was just like what he's done.
We're gonna go back to that scene because I'm pretty sure she literally has no idea what the fuck's happening.
I mean, she's in like a crystal the entire time.
Yeah, she's like isolated from the world. She's like, she literally asked, "Is my son doing okay?"
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then
you're kind of like this.
Vincent was like, he put his hand on you, and he's like, "Yeah, he's doing okay."
Yeah.
Or like, I forgot either he said that or no, he's dead. I think he says that so she doesn't freak out.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Like, which technically he's not wrong to a certain degree.
No, okay, yeah, because as you went in further, you realized, wait a minute, because one of the crucial moments in the game is when Cloud gave Sephiroth the black materia.
Yeah, so like that's like the other thing too. Like technically, like Sephiroth is dead throughout the entire game, and it's just the cult people that I guess he's like using their bodies as like a temporary, but they don't last very long.
Exactly.
So like you think Sephiroth's alive this entire time, like after the incident where like Cloud stabs him and then he like falls, but no, he's like dead this entire time and he's in a crystal. And then, like, that was, like, the other thing, too. Like, I'm also surprised, like, I never fucking knew that, like, Cloud was, like, he was, like, a failed experiment. That was the saddest moment, I have to say. Like,
for you?
Yeah, like, even, like, with the whole Aerith thing. Because, like, at least with Aerith, I knew. Yeah. But, like, where Cloud is, like, begging to Hojo, he goes, a number, like, you had at least given me a number. He goes, I didn't give you a number. You're a failed experiment. Why would I give you a name? And then Cloud just, like, having this, like panic moment where he realizes like he doesn't know who he is anymore.
No, he realizes he's worthless.
Yeah,
like he realizes like he's not even worth giving a name.
Yeah,
like that's one of the worst things to feel.
Yeah.
And so much of the mental torture that Cloud goes to, he has so many things going on in his head.
Yeah,
and he just has no way of controlling it or knowing what to do with all those emotions. Like realizing part of him isn't who he thinks he is. Part of it of being like this kind of weird experiment. Like there's so much to what made Cloud's dynamic so interesting in 7.
Yeah, like, and that's like the thing too. And I have to say, like with Remake, I think they've done a pretty good job with like bringing these characters over from like OG 7, because like the only things I've known about like the 7 characters were things like from Advent Children or from Kingdom Hearts, where at that point the damage has been done to the characters. So they're kind of more like these little emo boys is what we used to call them back in the day. But now that I've seen what has brought everybody to this, I'm like, no, this is a very logical reason why they are all like this now. They have gone through so much trauma as young adults. I'm so sorry we made fun of you back then.
Yeah, no, because a lot of the things Cloud had to go through in 7, he didn't really get a chance to really mourn a lot of the things that happened. When he stabilized his mental, his brain, who he was, realizing what he was, the people he lost on the way, he really didn't know how to really deal with it all at once. So that's why he started acting that way in Advent Children. But, people don't like seeing context. They just like, oh, he's emo. They'll just say that. He's emo. Cloud's emo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. He just doesn't know what to do with himself. But sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I definitely like how these characters ended up turning in remake. I'm very interested how part 2 is gonna be, though. Like, I just for the fact too, like we were kind of talking about it, how like we're hoping maybe it'll start off with the flashback sequence.
Yeah, the Nibelheim sequence.
Yeah,
like it'll show what happened.
Yeah,
and then like fade back to the characters in the hotel.
Which it makes sense because it was kind of like that on the first disc. Like it's them looking out on the bridge, and then it fades to black, and then it's the whole
the scene.
Yeah, then it's like that scene. So like for it to start off with the flashback scene totally makes sense. I have to say. My favorite other realization about playing OG7 and looking back on those cutscenes is that the fact that the soldier that's like getting car sick is Cloud.
Such a derp.
Yeah. We're like, and then like Cloud is apparently trying to like make him feel like that soldier feel better, but like that's actually Zach trying to make him feel better. So when he sees that it's Cloud, I remember somebody made a post where it's like, "Shut up, Cloud, that's you."
Yeah. He was talking so much shit to himself.
Like, "Shut up, Cloud, that's you." I do have to say though, a character that like I liked, but I didn't realize how much I would really, really like by the end of 7 was Red 13.
You always liked him from the beginning, though.
I always liked Red 13 because I was like, oh, look, a wolf type animal character.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so cute, love that. But then, like, the fact that, like, Red 13's not actually, like, this super old, ancient, like, dog. He's, like, 17 years old, really.
In his dog years.
Yeah, in, like, dog years, basically. So, in reality, he's just, like, an angsty teenager.
And his grandpa, like, threw it out there,
Yeah,
and
like,
he's like, "No,
stop
it!"
Well, even like when the gang realized that, they're like, "You're only like 17." He's
Listen,
like, "Shut up."
Listen.
But like, yeah, even like I didn't know anything about like his backstory, about like how the fact that like he never liked his dad because he thought like his dad like abandoned them.
Yeah, like he abandoned the village. He didn't protect them. He didn't do anything to help them.
Yeah,
and he just had this like this story of what happened in his version.
Yeah,
from when he was probably really small.
Yeah. And it's just like to have that like revolution at like the end of it where he like forgives his dad finally, and like his dad is actually like the statue.
Yeah, like not even just forgiveness, because like the old guy that raised him was like, you know what? I think it's time I show you what actually happened.
Yeah.
So he starts talking to him in this cave, go through the whole cave sequence. At the end of the cave sequence, you see his father as a stone statue on top of this cliff with like arrows and stuff like stuck in his body, and he pretty much is like, yeah, he brought them all out here. He kept them at bay, safe from the village, and they poisoned him, and then he got turned into that like statue.
Yeah.
And that's what he's like now, and he's been petrified ever since. And realizing that his dad protected his village with everything he had, he felt very bad for ever doubting him in that way. 1, 2, he promised to be a warrior fit for the name. And he was very proud to call himself his name.
Yeah.
And he told them how proud he was of his dad. Within that moment, you see water coming down
from the statue,
these little droplets,
yeah.
And then it's the tears from the statue
because his dad's still in there.
And he starts, basically his father heard his words, and when Nanaki realized that his father heard him, he just starts howling.
It becomes a materia too, doesn't it? Like, don't you get a materia from like his tears?
Don't remember that, but I just remember how much that scene meant to me when I saw it, because I was like, damn.
That's like the best one. But
a lot of the characters had amazing moments like that.
Yeah, like even like with Barrett, like I didn't know like Marlene.
You threw him under the bus. You
thought
he was just this loud, weird dude.
Yeah, well, I don't like Barrett. I did not like Barrett in the beginning. Barrett is definitely like went from like my least favorite character, and I would say he's probably like up there now.
Yeah,
I would probably
you
say
get it.
I would probably say like Yuffie's probably my least.
Yuffie's trash. I'm sorry. If there's a Yuffie fan out there, I'm not offending you. I just didn't like her.
Yuffie's just like, even as a party member, like she was like, we just got her to have her, like, because I was just like, no, I want to at least have all the party members.
You know, it's even better. You got her. Never used her for one.
No, we had to use her for one thing, I remember, and then we never used her ever again.
Which means you never used her.
No.
And there was a whole side quest dedicated to her. What?
Yeah.
What?
We didn't do it.
I ain't do that.
No, sorry. But yeah, even like everything with Barrett, like I didn't know, like technically, like Marlene is not like his real daughter.
Yeah, not by blood.
No, not by blood, and that he like basically adopted her because
he thought
his best friend died.
Yeah, his name was Dine.
Yeah.
And so when you go back to his original village with
which
all
is like
of that,
it's even worse than like the sector they were living in. Like it was like the slum of the slums.
yeah, it was like next to the Golden Saucer.
Yeah.
And when he realizes Dine's still alive, he's like, no way.
Yeah.
How are you alive? Guess what? He has a gun arm too. So
what a coincidence.
but Dine's changed tremendously from that time.
Yeah.
And when Barrett tries to speak to him, you can hear how different he has turned.
Yeah.
And it's just sad to know that they could never find a resolution because Marlene, that was the dad.
Yeah.
And he just felt like he couldn't go back to her, like she didn't deserve to be with someone like the way he is now.
Yeah.
And in the last line he says, like, I'm going to go back to my wife now. And at that point, you know, she probably died somewhere.
Yeah.
And but that's how the player finds out.
Yeah.
But at that point, Barrett's basically now has Marlene.
Yeah. Now Marlene is his daughter, basically.
The only thing that kind of sucks about it is you get that great scene, but you never have like another moment with Marlene, unless maybe if you go back to Midgar. I never saw that scene unless it's already in there.
Oh, can you?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I literally don't know if there's a scene because you know.
Oh yeah, because like technically, I think it's up until like the third disc. You can't go back there, right?
No, you can unlock something.
Because you have to get the key to go back.
Yeah, and then when you go in there, I don't know if you can talk there.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
No, we didn't try.
That's what I'm saying.
Skip that one.
I just don't know.
There's too much. That's what I'm saying. There's too much optional stuff in 7. Like, if you don't keep track of it, you're like...
That's great, though, because that means
it.
if you explore the game, you get a lot out of it.
Well, even, too, like, Sid, like, I didn't know anything about his backstory either, where he's an astronaut.
he wants to go to space.
I want to go to space.
That's all he wants to do. Like, simple life. Simple, straight up.
Yeah. I think that's, like, the only thing that stinks, I feel like, out of, like, Tifa, Aerith, Red, and Cloud, and Barrett, like Yuffie and, like, Vincent Valentine's stories don't really, like, matter.
Well, most of it's because Vincent and Yuffie were originally just, like, optional characters that weren't even supposed to be in the game. Like that. Like, that's why when you see if you actually see every CGI cutscene in FF7,
yeah, they're not in it.
They don't even exist.
Yeah.
Because they're not meant to be there.
Well, did you know, like, apparently, like, that, like, the opening cinematic for Dirge Cerberus is supposed to explain why Vincent wasn't in, like, why Vincent and Yuffie aren't in, like, like, in those ending cinematics.
No?
Yeah, they're looking for Hojo. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's why, like, that was Square Enix reasoning for them not being
Okay.
at the final moment of life and death.
Yeah. But the thing is, FF7's just... The ending is very powerful, too.
See, that's so funny that you were going to say that, because that's what I was going to talk about, how I didn't really like it.
Well, you don't like the resolution. I'm talking about the moment. Like the moment itself of, like, when Holy activates, the meteor's coming down. You can see the damage it's starting to do before it even makes contact.
Yeah.
Then you just see the live stream with the piano playing, like the harmony just starts coming. And you just see it slowly come into this power, this to Holy. Mm-hmm. Just that moment was just so well done. And then that last, like, you knew in your heart.
In my heart. She was there.
And then,
she was there with
you
us.
see that one scene of her for one split second. And it ends with everyone getting blinded. But just that moment was so powerful. Like, just that. I love that part of it. You don't like that it just ends and then it's like, Wait, why is it overgrown and there's Nanaki?
Oh, where'd you get kids? Who he bang?
Yeah,
Is
like,
there another one he found? Can he reproduce by budding?
They said they wanted to leave it ambiguous.
I hated it.
And that's what it is.
I hate that.
They made the movies. They made the
movies. The
movies.
movies didn't do anything. It still doesn't talk. Because you know why? Because the fucking movies do the same thing where they open up and it's Red 13 running and then it's Midgar covered in grass again.
Yeah.
And it's like, this doesn't... What happened? Like, did the... like
500 years later, humans are gone.
Well, that's the thing. Like, is it just the fact that now... Because now you have Advent Children, so is it the fact that they just realized that Midgar wasn't good enough, so they left Midgar? Yeah, I just want in hopes for, because now it looks like with Final Fantasy VII Remake... well, didn't you say that there was, like, an interview that they were like, hey, even though these changes are happening... We're still gonna be sticking with like how OG7 was. Yeah, but I'm just like, how?
They're just gonna follow the same thing, and then
brought
probably
back Zack.
It's probably gonna be inconsequential. I'll be real with you. They're probably gonna follow it and then do the ending thing where it's a little. I think they're just gonna keep doing that. Yeah. I'll be real with you.
Like just the ending is gonna be different.
Because there are additions to the remake that were not in the original game. Like Chapter 4 in the remake, you go onto the top plate of I believe Sector 5. And you get to see Jesse's house.
I really liked that.
Yeah, that was a great addition. And that never existed in the OG. The little things like that are great. Also, there was a section where after the plate collapsed because of what
Reno and Rude.
No, Shinra did.
Oh.
They saw Wedge. They found out Wedge was probably still alive because a cat took him to that location. Mm-hmm. Once they went in there, he was alive, which did not happen in the first game.
He probably like had the worst death out of like Jesse and them.
We're assuming he's dead.
Well, I'm talking about like OG7.
Yeah,
because like he fucking gets thrown off the tower and just plats in front of Cloud. Yeah, like don't get me wrong, like I'm sure like getting shot hurts because what is it's Wedge, Jesse, and Biggs, yeah, like you know, and then also the fucking Biggs is alive too.
Yeah, no,
only Jesse is the confirmed one that died, which is very upsetting.
Because the remake is using the word in the most literal way. Like instead of it being like, oh, we're just making the same game, making it look nice. They're challenging the word and saying, hey, we're remaking FF7 in its core structure. You feel it from the beginning to the end because there's these ghost apparitions that pop up when the story tries to diverge from its original way. The world does not want to change the course of the things that happen because we, as the player, know what happened in the original.
Yes.
That's why if you didn't play the original, these things mean nothing to you.
Yes.
And are very confusing.
Like that ending, like the last the boss right before Sephiroth, you're fighting that like huge monster.
And the Arbiter of Fate.
Yeah, and you don't realize how much Final Fantasy lore is just in this boss fight alone.
Yeah.
Like between the scenes between like OG7 and Crisis Core and Advent Children, and then those three.
They just kind of like just shove it in you.
Yeah.
They don't even give you a chance to really like understand what's happening if you have not touched FF7 at all.
Yeah.
Which is why that ending is very mixed for me, because if you are a fan of the franchise, basically, you love every bit of it.
Yeah.
If you have never touched an FF7 property, you will be one of the most confused people in the world.
Yeah.
But that section with Zack,
I was shitting bricks during that.
Yeah.
Scene. Oh my god.
But
we were literally like, it was like 5 a.m.
I was like, I can't wait.
Jeffrey literally came over the night before, and I was like, you're like, oh, like text me when you get to this scene, and I think it was like 2 hours after you had left here, and you're like, call me on Discord right now, and then I like screen shared it, and we stayed all the way up till like 6 a.m.
to beat the damn game.
Yeah, just to like beat it.
And then I just was like, at that point, because everyone was like theory crafting, and I'm just sitting here going like, this is a sequel. This is a sequel. This is FF7 sequel. This is like, it's like after everything. That's what's happening.
Yep. It's just so much. And then like apparently they found out like there's more than one Sephiroth. And then it's apparently like there's Sephiroths from like the different Final Fantasy VII stuff.
Yeah, because in some of the written stuff, he basically states explicitly that he exists within the live stream as an entity separate from the live stream. Mm-hmm. He does not want to dissolve into the live stream.
Yeah.
So he keeps doing things to bring himself back.
Yeah.
Advent Children, you remember those three kids that were like his children? He was using them to come back. And that's what he did. But he never wants to just fully be accepted by the live stream. Aerith even said, I could come back when I want. but I won't do it because I don't think I should because I died.
Yeah, she's like, why is that fair for... That's not fair. Everybody else can't come back. Why the fuck should I come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that means technically when Sephiroth killed her, she could have just like...
She could have done it at any time, but she was like, no, I died. There's like no reason for me to come back.
Yeah, she's like, I already plant my seeds. We're good, fam.
Yeah, and she pretty much just, she died doing what she believed. And then Sephiroth just doesn't care. He's like, I'm coming back. I'm going to wreak havoc on the world.
Like, oh, that's nice for you, Aerith, but I'm coming back.
and yeah, the thing is, though, it's very weird because the way they've written it in a lot of the books that have expanded on FF7 Remake, there's like 3 Sephiroths. Yeah. There's like Illusion Sephiroth.
The Ultimata, right? That's where it came from.
I think the Ultimatia.
Yeah.
There's like the Illusion one that like Cloud sees.
Right.
The one that's actually there. Actually, there's 4. Because then there's the ones that go inside of the failed Sephiroth clones.
Yes.
And they uses their bodies to do things. And then there's the last one where we're like, we don't know where he's from.
Yeah.
He just...
I think that's Advent Children Sephiroth.
No. The one we fought was Advent Children, but that one, everyone thinks that Sephiroth is pre-everything.
Oh.
Like he's a good person.
Oh, not the asshole Sephiroth. Like Zack era
That wasn't
Sephiroth.
his fault, all right? He realized his truth, and he lost his shit.
We all know if Sephiroth didn't know how to read, none of this would have been happening.
Yeah, man. If he just didn't even know how to open a textbook.
Yeah. If Sephiroth just didn't know how to read, none of this would have been happening. We all would have been fine. Nobody would be dead.
But, a lot of the big things with Remake, I know we're just talking about the story stuff at this point, but I just want to talk about, like, the gameplay, the music.
Oh, it's so fun.
Graphically, like the gameplay systems, when it's working and you're slamming damage down, you're seeing those numbers, you're seeing the animations, all of it looks so amazing with sparks flying. Like, the visual effects artists went crazy.
Yeah.
The animation directors and teams that made the animations for every character, you could tell how much love they put into it. Seeing, like, Cloud swing his sword wildly, all the animations for the skills. Tifa, you could tell she was all about hitting you with like combos, not heavy, but enough to get a string going.
Right.
And you could see how they made them in their defined roles. Barrett, when you hit that square button and you held it, you felt good.
Yeah.
When you felt that minigun just firing off, you were like, yeah, when he was saying yeah. When you fired off your charge shot, when you built up the ATB bars, it just all felt amazing. The boss fights in 7 Remake were amazing. Like, the core battle mechanics added to these really powerful cuts where you could see these bosses, like, showing off.
The summons.
Yeah, the summons were just as equally as beautiful. The music playing with the boss fights had to be one of the best integrated, like, phase changing I've seen in terms of JRPG stuff. Like, Nier Automata did that really well, but I think FF7 Remake did it fantastically. The only downside of that mechanic is, let's say, because there's like a stun bar.
Right.
If the phase change happens, the stun bar resets. Yeah. So you lost all the progress you had. So now you have to go like, God damn it, I have to like fill it up again. I think that
happened to me a lot when I was fighting the haunted house.
Yes, that happened to everyone.
I was getting fucking frustrated with the haunted house. That one was like, Jesus Christ. By the way, the other thing too, like, I didn't realize when we were playing OG7 how ridiculous some of these enemies were gonna be.
Yeah, some of their designs, like the house was a normal enemy in the OG.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what?
Like, you could just walk around and find... But, like, some of these enemies, like, one of them had, like, a motorcycle body.
Yeah.
Like...
Wheels. Oh, there was, like, a Minotaur with, like, wheels. I remember that.
Some of these enemies were the most random-looking enemies that did not fit anywhere in this game.
Hey, I got to press X on them. I was happy.
Yeah, like, I'm like, okay, like, this is fine. Like, we'll fight it.
But then it's funny because in some enemies that wouldn't make sense to be multiple of, they made them singular bosses. Like one of the house, they did a great job of bringing the house into the remake. They did a really great job with that.
Yeah.
Then there was a boss in Shinra where it was like these like centipedal like mechanic thing, and they made it one powerful boss.
Yes.
And I think that was cool. Not only was the bringing it into a boss was cool, how they shifted it from each side of the group, from Cloud Barrett fighting it to now Tifa and Aerith fighting it.
Yeah.
I really like those kind of like
it kind of
flips.
reminded me of the fight in Nier Automata where it's like you're fighting like the same
A2
thing and 9S. Yeah, it was kind of like that where I was just like, yes, I could get behind
really cool.
this. Yes.
And it's wild because it's just because like I think back on the Airbuster fight, how the music just goes ham. The movie starts, it's just like it just keeps going, and like you can feel the energy that the boss fight's giving you from everything happening.
Yeah.
The way that the fight's going, the dialogue that's going on, the amount of damage you're doing, what you're doing, the choir going ham as this. It's just that was like the boss fight for me in the game.
Yeah.
For me, then there's there's this one like Genova.
Oh yeah.
The way they did the Genova fight was really good too, and just a glimpse of what's to come.
Get ready, boys. Oh yeah, like even those like that the you know how like I didn't realize that when we were playing OG7 and it was like every time you saw Sephiroth and you were gonna fight him, it was those weird arm monsters.
Genovas.
Yeah, the Genovas.
Pieces,
yeah. And so like the fact that they like took that and they put that like towards like the end of like 7 remake
Just to give you a glimpse of what's to come.
Because I didn't realize that. You're like, didn't you realize every time you went to go fight Sephiroth, you weren't fighting Sephiroth, you were fighting that? And I was like, oh fuck no, I didn't realize that at all.
That's why when you figure out that he was dead all along, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, oh shit.
Yeah, because it's just like a mixture of all that.
Jesus. Like it really catches you off guard. Because that's why when that came out the first time in 97, all of that was like, plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. You're like, oh, damn. Oh, Jesus.
God, there's one thing, though, I have loved from looking into Final Fantasy stuff is seeing the terrible marketing of OG Final Fantasy VII.
Back then, it was the marketing, though.
It was so, like, there is so many spoilers in the marketing.
Yeah, but no one cared back then.
Oh, my God.
Everyone cares now.
Yeah, everybody
but no one cared back then.
Everybody would fucking lose their shit now.
My 3-year-old self would be like, yeah.
That looks really exciting, Mom. Can you buy that?
Like, I don't even, like, when I get in a JRPG, and you know how they always have an opening?
Yeah.
I always skip it.
Oh, yeah.
That's how much I don't want to see spoilers. That's me. I will never watch an opening. Because it literally, if you watch a Yakuza opening, it spoiled the whole game.
Oh, really?
It's so bad.
I don't remember when we were, like, we're in the middle of playing Yakuza 0 right now, and, like, I don't remember anything about that opening.
Because we skipped it.
Yeah.
If I actually showed it to you, and then if you beat the game, when we beat the game, I want you to watch
show
it.
it to me.
And you're going to be like, no. That's all you're going to say.
Well, like, Square Enix does that a lot, too, though. Like,
because they want this. They want money.
Because, like, remember when everybody got, like, super, including myself,
That's comforting.
during, like, the Kingdom Hearts 3, like, era when it was coming out?
Yeah.
And then they fucking showed, like, the Xehanort Aqua in the middle of the trailer, and she's talking, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Do you not realize the sadness I would have felt having to finally go and save Aqua, only to then see her be a Xehanort? Y'all dumb. Y'all stupid.
Not like it mattered.
Yeah. Well, I'm really hoping that, because Square Enix, I think, made a statement finally that they're, like, not gonna, like, show trailers and stuff until things are actually in production and almost done.
No, because, okay, so this is basically what happened. When they had the PlayStation 5 event and they showed off Final Fantasy 16, Division 3, which is basically the team that made Final Fantasy 14, which is very successful, and their last thing, the last thing they threw out was Shadowbringers, and I think that averaged like a 95 on Metacritic, which is an immensely powerful number right there.
Is it now the most highest score Final Fantasy game right now?
I have to check that, but
so.
I think it would. I have to check to be sure.
It's crazy that like the MMO does so much better than like all their other games.
I'm not surprised, because if there's one thing I've read the stories, I've watched the videos of
we played the games.
Yeah, no, just because when you look back on the original 14, compare it to today's, seeing what it did to the company. And then, like, Yoshi P comes out and he's, like, in charge of the changes between everything. Bringing something back from the brink of death to then making one of the most highly acclaimed sections of Final Fantasy, which is Shadowbringers, which is a culmination of all the expansions at that point. If you're ever interested in 14... It is like
do it. It's worth it.
It is like a Netflix series of each expansion being a season.
Yeah.
So when you finish the first part, you finish season 1. Season 1 wasn't that great.
It's not.
Season 2
it's really bad.
Gets better. Season 3 it shines. Season 4 it goes really well. When you get to like season 7, you just can't stop.
I have to say, as somebody, like, I know we're talking about 7, but now we're talking about 14. But, like, for somebody who doesn't even really give two shits about the story in 14, it's just so much fun. Like, that's, like, a fun couples game, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, MMOs?
Because, like, we do, like, the dungeons together. We do quests together. Like, we started getting our friends to play it with us.
Yeah.
Like, hey...
It's an infection.
Hey, we're couples night. Here's our couple game. Go play Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. But the only reason...
Oh, yes, but with the marketing and everything.
Yeah.
With Square Enix, yeah. Sorry, we got sidetracked.
But most of it was because when they showed the trailer for 16, people felt... These were the reactions. Either, wait, that doesn't look that good to some people. Yeah. Or 2, is this Final Fantasy 14? I'm not kidding. I've watched them and I'm like, oh, come on. So the thing is, Yoshi said himself after... He's like, I wanted to make sure you saw that the game was running in-engine, in-game gameplay. Because I am sick of people memeing us saying, can't wait to see it 20 years from now.
Yeah, he's also, like, big on, like, Twitter and shit like that. So I'm sure he sees, like, everything.
No, not even just that. Like, whenever... Because I'm going to assume a lot of the suits thought, oh, you know, it's an offhand joke, right?
Yeah.
Like, one person will say it, whatever. When they started to realize that was actually the consciousness of the community, they're like, we have to not let that happen.
We're fucking
because
up here.
that damages reputation. So that's why now they're doing a lot better with showing when it's very close or showing when it's kind of close. Like Project Athia, they showed it, and now it's coming out in 2022 January.
Yeah.
Now, that game, I actually read up on it. The president wants to make that game because he said it's been like a dream project of his.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact too that he was even like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 16, it's coming out in 2021, and I was like, no, it's not. I'm like, you're lying to me.
Like it looks very, very
I know you,
fleshed
Square
out.
Enix. You don't make games.
But if Yoshi P said
like
that,
yeah,
I believe him.
I believe him. That's why when it came from his mouth, I was like, all right, this might be happening. Like Square Enix might finally be turning around, but. Yeah, no, I really liked, I like 14. I mean, I think definitely, like, after we played 15, like, I kind of was starting, like, because for me, all my Final Fantasy experience have come from side games, which is why I've only really played Crisis Core. Like, I loved World of Final Fantasy. Like, I like Final Fantasy games. I never really played too many, like, main title Final Fantasy games till 15, and then we played 10. I hated 10. It's just not that good.
10 was just not...
10's not good.
Like, I know a lot of people...
10's not good. It's got great music, it.
I know a lot of people love Final Fantasy 10. And I will never say anything to you as an individual.
We can't be friends if you like Final Fantasy 10.
But the thing with FF10, I actually tried to like the game a lot.
You can't.
I gave it a fair shot. I beat the whole game. Nothing about it, the way... I just don't like the way they did the character relations, because a lot of that cast was very underwhelming. Yeah. They were not approached well. The only one that got any form of characterization was Yuna and Tidus. Yeah. That's it. And like, they tried to make this, like, relationship work with them. It felt weird at times, but, you know, I understand if you grew up with the game, it means something to you as well. Yeah. Like, this is not a bash to you. It's not a bash to the game.
Unless you're talking to me, it's a bash.
I just did not enjoy the game. I ended up really enjoying 7. I enjoyed 6. But actually, the one I enjoyed, like, the most, it's going to sound real weird, is 9. 9 was a roller coaster of, wow, this sucks, to, wow, this game's amazing. This is literally what happened with my experience with 9. At first, I was like, wow, this game sucks. It's so slow, it's annoying, and then I beat it, I was like, this game's amazing.
Never mind, I really like this game now.
Yeah, like...
I take it back.
like I'm not kidding, 9, when you beat 9's amazing. No. Like, oh, God.
It's just, like, for me, like, going through, like, 15 and then 7, 15, 10, trying to play 13, didn't get that far. Got farther than when I first played it as a kid, which was only about 3 hours, but... And then, like, we played 14, and 14 was kind of, like, the one that stuck. And then after we beat Remake and playing 7, like, yeah, I have to say, like, 7 is so much better than 15 or 10 or... Because, like, whenever... And it looks the derpiest.
Like, whenever I would tell you, yeah, I like playing these older games, you would always give me this look like, why?
Yeah.
And I'm like...
What do you mean you like you could still play these games? Look at them.
And I was like... Well, what's it matter how it looks like? If it's fun to play, like, what's the problem? Like, you didn't understand what I meant. Like, you just didn't get it. Yeah. Then you played 7, and you were like, I get what he means now.
But literally, like, 2 weeks ago, you came over, and I was like, I want to play Final Fantasy 7 again.
I was like, why don't you play 9? Why not?
I was like, no.
Yeah, just give 9 a try.
I was like, no, we're gonna play Final Fantasy 7 again.
You can play 7, but I'm not kidding. Try 9. I think you'll really like 9. Trust me.
It's very hard for me to try new things.
I know. I know.
I like playing the same thing. I have like comfort games, and I just enjoy playing those over and over.
I just like
again.
giving you new stuff because like when you find them, you love them, right? Like when you found Berserk, you love Berserk. And that's what I'm saying. Like.
I thought you were going to say something completely different.
No, Yakuza 0 is different because you literally don't care.
You know what I thought you were going to say?
What?
I thought you were going to say Yeast.
No.
That's why I covered it, because it's right next to me.
No, well, Yeast is another thing.
I love Yeast.
Because, I remember when we sat down and I was like, yeah, there's Tales of Berseria, which is really cheap right now, or Yeast, which is $50. Which do you want? And I was like, when you look at these two gameplay systems, which one screams I want to play it? And you're like, I'm going to get Yeast.
Yeah.
And I was like, good. Because I played Yeast. I played all of Yeast 8, I think, at that point. No, actually, you played it first.
I had it first. You had the other Yeast games on Steam.
Yeah, because you played it. Then I got it on PC later after they patched it. And I'm saying this because they actually fixed the game.
Big hole.
They fixed the translation and they fixed the game. So please, if you're thinking about it, get the game.
I'll post a picture of it, but my favorite thing was after beating Yeast 8, you sent me comparison photos of
the localization.
how the localization in the beginning, because Yeast 8 had a really bad score when it first came out, because the localization was really bad.
On PC it was bad. It was the problem.
Yeah, so my favorite one though is you and the group find this ancient civilization, and then it's destroyed, and it's just this really big
it's like a basin hole.
Yeah, because it exploded, and in the PS4 version, they gave it this ancient title or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the PC one, it's just called Big Hole.
Yeah, it was as literal as it could be. It was so bad.
Big Hole. I always remember that one.
It's terrible, man.
But we'll get East 9, and there won't be Big Hole. No Big Hole.
That's your hope?
Yeah, my hope is that we're going to stick with a good translation right off the bat for that one. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for 7 right now. Listen, we're very excited for part 2 whenever it comes out. We've definitely, we watched Advent Children, after I finished OG 7. Oh my god, that was my other favorite thing. One time me and Jeffrey were on Discord, and he was, scrubbing through clips of Advent Children. And at this point, I had not seen Advent Children in, probably since, middle school. So that was, 2008.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember too much about it, but I remember this one specific scene, and I wanted Jeffrey to show.
No.
And he goes to this part, and it's this guy in the wheelchair, and I never knew who that was because I never played OG 7. But at this point, we had finished Remake, and so Cloud goes, Rufus, and I went, that's Rufus, and it just spoiled the whole.
I was like, no. Oh crap.
That's Rufus, and I was like, oh. Oh, but yeah, I'm excited for part 2. I'm excited what they're gonna see. It's probably not gonna be until another year or 2 for now, which is unfortunate.
I'm not saying that even now. When they tell us when, I'll take their word for it, then add 6 months to it.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, whenever Square Enix decides to finally show a trailer for it, I hope that means we're gonna get it soon. Because if they show a trailer for it just to satisfy people to show something, I think that makes it worse, to be honest with you. Because I would rather honestly get distracted by something else, either a different game or something else completely different, and then whenever you're close to finishing it, show it to me, than having you show it to me and me go, well, now what? You gave me this. What am I supposed to do with this now? I can't do anything with this now. So I really hope whenever Square Enix talks about 7 again, we're gonna finally
I just want to play 16. I want to play. I want to play the game. I know Yoshi P is not directing it.
No.
But I know he's producing it. I do hope they do a great job because
he'll save Square Enix again.
Based on all the writing in FF14, I know they can knock it out.
Yeah.
Because story has been the one missing thing in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
14 is the only void, the only thing that's been able to fill that.
Yeah.
None of the mainline games can seem to touch good writing. I don't know why in this recent age.
Yeah.
I just hope they fix it.
I blame
FF7 has been one outlier though. They did a great job with it.
I blame Nomura.
Yeah, well.
Nomura just doesn't. I think Nomura is one of those guys where he's got to get put on a tight leash, because sometimes if you just let him do whatever he wants, it's not great. Look at 3.
Well, you got to remember he gets pulled into a lot of projects just because he's forced to.
Well, he gets into a lot of character design projects.
No,
That's
Square tells him what to do.
Yeah.
Because he's an employee. That's one thing. 2, Remember, he's the reason FF7 even came out as good as it did.
Yeah.
Because he stopped the bad decision.
Wow, what a turn of events.
they told him, hey, we're going to kill everyone off that wasn't in the last part of the crew. And we're going to leave it that way.
Oh, yeah, so whatever 3 party members you had, they're done.
And then the more's like, no, that's stupid. Like, if you want death to mean something, like, let's do this. And then they started planning the whole thing with Aerith.
Yeah.
And they did a great job.
Wow, and, that's so funny how he doesn't know how to do that now.
Well, it depends, because, like, my thing is, I do not like where Kingdom Hearts is going. I don't.
No, I don't either. After Dream Drop, I've been kind of very more disappointed.
It's just not giving me the feeling of these interconnection means something.
No.
And she knows already what my series is, but because I can only compare it to what I have.
It's Cold Steel.
Yeah, but that's my thing. I now have a comparison point.
Yeah.
So when I see a good version of this, I feel worse knowing that this game has a bigger budget.
Yeah.
And it's not nailing it.
Do you think Nomura would do something crazy in like part 2 of Final Fantasy VII where he'll throw like other characters into it, like as like because of this whole like multi-world thing?
I don't think he's gonna do anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's gonna go too far.
Like he's like, well, technically Cloud was in Kingdom Hearts, so we could put Sora in
He's not gonna do that at all. And you know
imagine that?
You know he's not.
He'd be like, when else, like not even like as a party, but like, you know, like those virtual summon fights you could do.
Yeah.
Like, here you go, fight this guy now.
I don't think that's happening, and you know it.
I've just been like, wow, what a world we're in now.
That would be one of the most awkward things ever. I'll promise you.
I don't even think Nomura knows even how to write for Sora anymore. So.
Well, after Kingdom Hearts 2, no one knew how to write for Sora. I'll be honest with you, and anyone can go against my opinion on this. Fine. I still think Kingdom Hearts 2 is the best one in the series.
It is the best one in the series.
And I mean that in every form. Like, from gameplay to characterization. Like, I don't think anything beats 2.
It's the reason why it's my comfort game. I can pick it up whenever I want and play it.
Yeah.
Hitting your knee, I'm sorry.
All good.
But yeah, I think that would probably wrap it up for now for Final Fantasy VII. We hope you like these kind of like one topic, even though we did a little sprinkle here and there of everything else. We were just kind of like... I felt like news-wise, like, it's been...
There's stuff, but, you know...
Yeah, it's been kind of, like, okay news. It hasn't really been, like, crazy news.
Oh, excuse me, for you.
For you, it's been... you...
I like a lot of games,
No,
so I'm a very happy person when I see multiple things.
I like a lot of games. Look how big my backlog is. It's just a big tower of stuff that's still sealed.
I'm getting rid of Shenmue.
No, put it back.
It's not worth playing.
It's gonna eventually get done.
No.
But yeah, if you guys like the one-offs, let us know. If not, we probably will like go back to doing our like currently playings and things like that.
She's never gonna finish Cold Steel.
We want to do. It's funny he says that because we want to do like a game we will both play at the same time and then talk about it. Like so, this was kind of like this. Like we both played Final Fantasy VII Remake, so we're gonna talk about it. But yeah, I think that wraps up for today.
Yeah.
All right, I am Kathleen.
I'm Jeff.
See you next time. Maybe. Bye.
Oh God, don't say maybe.
Bye.
Bye.